I'm 74 years old, and this is the first time I've said this out loud without trying to soften it. I was busy with the wrong things. I don't mean busy the way people say it at parties, laughing like it's a badge. I mean busy in a way that slowly steals your life while you're convinced you're doing the right thing. These days, my mornings are quiet. Too quiet. I wake up before the sun, not because I need to, but because my body doesn't remember how to sleep in anymore. I sit at the edge of the bed and listen to the house. It doesn't listen back. That's when the thoughts come. Not the dramatic ones, just the steady weight of remembering. I used to believe time was something you managed. Calendars, deadlines, plans. If you stayed organized, life would eventually slow down and reward you. It never did. In my 20s, I was hungry. That's the word people like to use. Hungry for stability, for respect, for not ending up like my father, who worked hard but never seemed satisfied. So I told myself I'd do better. I'd work harder. I'd be dependable. I'd be someone people could point to and say, he made it. I didn't notice when being dependable turned into being absent. I married young, a good woman, patient, quieter than me. She believed in me before there was anything to believe in. When the kids were small, I was always tired. Not from playing with them, but from work, meetings, commutes, things I can't even remember clearly now. I used to tell myself, this is temporary, that once things settled, I'd be more present. Once the next promotion came, once the mortgage felt manageable, once there was less pressure. There was always another once. I was home most evenings, technically, but my mind stayed at the office. I'd nod while my wife talked. I'd half listen to my kids' stories. I thought being there physically was enough. It wasn't. I missed small things. The way my son used to wait by the door when I came home, holding some drawing he'd made. The way my daughter would start a sentence, stop, and then decide it wasn't worth finishing when she realized I wasn't really listening. Those moments don't announce themselves as important. They just pass. In my 40s, things looked good from the outside. Career steady, bills paid, people said I was successful. Inside, I felt permanently behind. Behind at work, behind at home, behind at becoming whatever kind of man I was supposed to be. So I doubled down. Longer hours, fewer weekends. I told myself I was doing it for my family. That's a comforting lie. It lets you avoid harder questions. My wife stopped asking when I'd be home. That should have scared me more than it did. We didn't fight much. We just slowly stopped sharing things. Dinner conversations turned practical. Schedules, groceries, logistics. Love doesn't always explode. Sometimes it just thins out until you can see through it. I remember one night clearly. I came home late, again. The house was dark. There was a note on the counter telling me leftovers were in the fridge. I stood there longer than necessary, reading it twice. That's when I felt it for the first time, that something had shifted, and I hadn't noticed when. The kids grew up while I was busy proving something to people who don't remember my name now. School events I missed, conversations I postponed, phone calls I meant to return. I told myself I'd make it up to them later. Later is a dangerous word. By the time I slowed down, they didn't need me in the same way they did. They were polite, kind, but distant. I don't blame them. I taught them how to live without me. My wife and I stayed married. People always assume that means everything was fine. It wasn't terrible.
It just wasn't close. We became two people sharing a history instead of a life. We functioned well. That's the word we used. Functioning isn't the same as living. In my late 50s, my health started nudging me. Nothing dramatic. High blood pressure, sleepless nights, a body that didn't recover the way it used to. Doctors told me to slow down. I nodded and changed very little. Work still felt urgent. Life felt optional. Then retirement came, not with relief, but with confusion. One day I was needed everywhere. The next, nowhere. I thought I'd finally have time to reconnect, but I didn't know how. My wife had her routines, her friends, her ways of filling the silence. I hovered at the edges, unsure where I fit. The kids called on holidays, sometimes more. They loved me, I know that, but love has different shapes at different distances. I kept thinking something meaningful would begin once I stopped being busy. Instead, I just stopped. Then my wife got sick. Not suddenly, slowly. The kind of illness that rearranges your life inch by inch. I was there for her, really there, for the first time in years. We talked more in those months than we had in the previous decade, about small things, old memories, regrets we didn't quite name. One night she said very calmly, "We spent a lot of time preparing for a future that never came." I didn't know how to respond. There was nothing to argue with. She died the following spring. After the funeral, people told me I'd been a good husband. I thanked them because that's what you do. But alone in the quiet house, I replayed that sentence again and again. We spent a lot of time preparing. At 74, I can tell you this. Preparation is seductive. It feels responsible, productive, safe, but it can replace the thing itself if you're not careful. I prepared for retirement instead of enjoying my middle years. I prepared for stability instead of sitting on the floor with my kids. I prepared for someday instead of noticing today. Now my days are slow. I drink my coffee alone. I take walks just to have somewhere to go. I think about the man I was so sure I needed to become, and the man I never made time to be. There's no dramatic lesson here, just an awareness that arrived late.
If you're listening to this and you're busy, I understand. Busy feels necessary. Just know that the wrong things rarely announce themselves as wrong. They show up as obligations, expectations, sensible choices. And one day, you're 74, sitting in a quiet house, realizing how much of your life you spent elsewhere. I can't fix it now. I can only sit with it, and maybe say it out loud so it doesn't stay trapped inside me anymore. If this meant something to you, I'm glad. That's enough for me.